Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mpanya. I will be the presenter for today's ATP mediation. Firstly, let us do the honors. Can you please switch off your mics? I had some conversations that will be unsavory for our presentation. Everybody must switch off their mics. And I've just posted the attendance register in the chat box. Please complete the attendance register. I will also post it around about 3 o'clock. I still hear some voices from KM and SS. Sidiba Tuto and Kamukelo Masemula. Thank you very much. Sidiba Tuto, you still have your mic. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the grade 8 and 9 term 2 ATP mediation. Those who joined us last year, it is still going to be the same presentation, but we've updated information for 2026. Therefore, when you see that the first two slides are similar to what was there last year, please don't leave the meeting thinking that we are going to repeat what was presented last year. There is a new information pertaining to the ATP mediation. We are expected to be here until 4:30, but I'll try to cover up for time so that we don't stay for too long. And I'm going to record the meeting, or the meeting's already been recorded. Please be aware of that. Right. This is our presentation outline. We are going to look at ATPs for both grade 8 and 9, home and FAL. Summaries of those ATPs for informal activities. Remember, these informal activities feed into your curriculum coverage. And then we look at the curriculum coverage. What is it that you'll have to cover for term 2? And on which date you'll have to report for those coverage. And then we look at program of assessment, which has not changed. Then guidelines for grade 8 and 9 formal tasks, especially task 5. Remember, grade 8, you are going to set your own tasks. The grade 9s will get tasks from the province. Let's start with grade 8, English, home and FAL, and also grade 9. We've already done with week 1, which was the 8th to the 10th of April. We are now in week 2. This is what we are supposed to be doing, or we have done: listening to comprehension, and then prepared reading aloud, where you view an extract from a novel. You can either do a prepared reading aloud from any other source, or you can view an extract from a novel. And this is it's a continuation of task 1. Remember, task 1 is on a continuum. We started with it in term 1, is continue, and especially for those schools with high enrollment. I know some of you have already done it, but it's continuing in term 2. Remember, we are going to record it in term 2, regardless whether you still busy or you have completed it. Then in grade 9, for weeks 1 and 2, it's the same. You are listening to comprehension, but this time you listen to a story. Then you do prepared speech while you are continuing with task 1. You can see that prepared reading aloud and prepared speech, they link with the prepared reading aloud for task 1 in both grade 8 and 9, home and FAL. Then we move quickly to week 3, which is next week, and week 4, a week after. Remember, week 4 has only 3 days. Just be aware that week 4 has only 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Meaning that we only have 7 days instead of 10. So you must work out how you will be completing this ATP or the cycle within 7 days. In those 2 weeks, we're going to, for grade 8 EFAL and home, it will be listening to a dialogue, and then we'll do the informal dialogue. While in grade 9, it will be listening for comprehension, where a recording of a speech will be played to learners. Then they will do unprepared reading aloud as an informal activity. That's why when we get to schools, we still want to see evidence of oral activities, the informal oral activities, because you cannot assess learners formally before you assess them informally. Then week 5 and 6, we're listening to comprehension in grade 8, home and EFAL, and this will be from a non-fictional text. Then for informal activity, you must have a group panel discussion with your learners. While in grade 9, in weeks 5 and 6, they will be listening to an oral text, such as an interview, speech, storytelling for comprehension. They listen for comprehension, but this time not from a what? From a story, but they do interview. They listen to an interview. Someone being interviewed, someone delivering a speech, or someone telling a story, and this is for comprehension. Then like in grade 8, they are also going to do group or panel discussion. Then the penultimate week 7 and the last week of week 8, in grade 8, you listen to or watch an advertisement. You listen to and watch an advertisement while you have an informal activity in which learners will do a listening comprehension. That will be an oral presentation on the advertisement. You present the advertisement orally while learners listen for comprehension. Then in grade 9, there will be listening and speaking strategies, like listening to a newspaper report and doing oral presentation of that report. That is an informal activities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to move away from the construction side. This is for listening and speaking. Then we are going to move to reading and viewing. In grade 8, weeks 1 and 2, that is last week and this week, is features of literature text, like a novel. It's up to a school to decide whether they look at a novel, folktale, or short stories, but it must be features of a literature text. Then you write a summary based on one chapter. If it's a novel, it will be on one chapter. Then in grade 9, it is a reading a literature text, e.g., or for example, a short story, novel, and then you briefly summarize. You briefly summarize the text you read, e.g., from poetry, in which you do key features of a poem. You see, these features of a poem and features of literary text in grade 9 and grade 8 respectively requires you to teach skills on literature, not just to read text, but also to teach skills. How can you differentiate between a novel and a poem? That is based on what? The key features of those two genres. Then week 3 and 4, remember week 3 and 4 is only 10 days long. That is the cycle, is only 10 days long. In grade 8, we'll be looking at literary text, where you got a speech on TV or radio and you played it to the learners. Then you do features of literary text from a poem. Then read for information based on the topics and genres selected. Then in grade 9, you read a literary text, e.g., short story or a novel. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone who can assist me to mute people who are still having their mics on? If your mic is still on, it seems like it's a school. Teachers, please be cooperative. You are disrupting other people. Can someone please mute that school? Koba NJ. Koba NJ. Right, let's continue. Week 3 and 4 in grade 9, you read a literary text, e.g. from a short story or a novel. Then you read and view text from a newspaper articles and magazine articles for information and comprehension. Passage in the textbook. You look for that passage in the textbook. And people, if you can look at this, they also link to your spelling and dictation lists. Then we have in grade 5, in week 5 and 6, grade 8. We do non-fictional text, for example, a newspaper article for comprehension. Then we also look at features of a literary text or literature text, for example, a folk tale. So all the genres now in grade 8, almost all the genres will be covered. Then in grade 9, we still read a literature text, but this time it will be from a novel or a short story. Then we also look at poetry, the key features of a poem in poetry. Then we read or review for comprehension, where teachers, you can use written and or visual text, such as a cartoon or comic strips. Then on top of that, you have to revise structure of the summary. Then the last 2 weeks, the last cycle, week 7 and 8, in grade 8, we read or view for comprehension of a visual text, multimedia text such as an advertisement or a poster. Then we also do reading strategies. In grade 9, we do reading a newspaper report or a magazine article. Then we also cover reading strategies, this time on literature, particularly in poetry. Then we read or view for comprehension from a newspaper article. Then we still have to look at key features of a poem in poetry. That is for reading and viewing. Then writing and presenting. In last week and this week is descriptive essay based on a novel. When you are still covering literature and writing. So it's your skill number 2 and 3. So that is integration. Then you write, informally, they write a descriptive essay focusing only on process writing. Remember, you only focus on process writing. Then in grade 9, they write a transactional text, a formal letter, and also focusing on process writing. Not the contents, but only the process. How do you plan? How do you draft? And how do you present a final piece? Then they write a formal letter following the process approach to writing. You only focus on a formal letter. Then weeks 3 and 4, which is 8 days long, in grade 8, they write a dialogue based on a social issue. Then they write a descriptive essay focusing on process writing. Then in grade 9, they write an essay, either narrative, descriptive, or discursive, and or argumentative, where they focus on process writing. Then they'll have to write an essay following the process approach to writing. Therefore, all the skills of process writing must be taught. Then you assess them to test whether they understood it or not. Then weeks 5 and 6, you write in grade 8, they write a review based on a newspaper article. And then they write a review focusing only on process writing. Remember, during Language and Heritage Festival, this skill, they are going to need this skill to review a book. Then in grade 9, you do transactional text in which you report. You do report, focusing on process writing on the report. Then you give them an informal writing of a report in which they followed the process approach to writing. Then grade 8, weeks 7 and 8, transactional text, advertisement and poster. Then design and create an advertisement as an informal activity or a poster focusing on process writing. While in grade 9 is longer transactional text, e.g. newspaper report, magazine article, where they focus on process writing and they write an informal activity on a newspaper report or a magazine article.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to pause and check. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever.
Yeah, it seems like there's a Koto as well as a Evungweni school whose microphones aren't muted.
Can you please mute them while I'm still busy, because really they just write down the names of the schools so that I can report to your subject advisors.
May Salman I think she's with you as a what do you call it? I'm unable to mute the school, so I don't know if she can, if Willie can maybe mute.
Oh, she's the producer.
Yes. It's right. This Evungweni High School.
Okay, we'll make a follow-up thereafter. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Then language structures. This is the final skill, or our last skill on the ATP for grade 8. Ladies and gentlemen, this is loaded. You cannot do everything in 2 weeks. So you pick and choose in term 1, weeks 1 and 2. And then in grade 9, you can also pick and choose. I'm not going to read everything here because I'm going to share this presentation with you. You can see, but please focus on those skills that are always neglected. You know very well that your learners do well in tenses and nouns. Please select skills in which or where your learners really struggle. You have done item and error analysis for task 3. You know exactly in which skills in language did they struggle. So in this language structures and convention, please look at the skills in which your learners struggled during task 3, the writing of task 3. I hope that makes sense. And remember, you must also infuse your spelling and dictation list as well as your weekly flyers into language and structures. If you know that you're going to, you have a flyer for week 1 or 2 and 2, you have a flyer on maybe comparative and superlative degrees. Please use that flyer as a teaching aid for your learners. Or in grade 9, you have it for idioms and proverbs. There are flyers for idioms and proverbs. Please utilize those flyers. We'll talk about them later on when you do the structure of the task 5 for grade 8 and 9. Right. It continues up to week 9, up to week 8, because week 9 and 10 is when they will be starting with their June examinations. Ladies and gentlemen, we've done with the summary of the informal activities from the ATP. Now let us look at them only for term 2. And we start with grade 8 home language. Here they are. Under listening and speaking, I've already mentioned it. We have prepared and unprepared reading aloud, oral assessment and oral presentations for assessment. This is for informal, meaning that you are also reminding them of what they are busy doing formally, just to sharpen their skills. Then under reading and viewing, paper 2 responds to text components. We're looking at comprehension activities. You must have 4 activities in grade 8, 4 activities for summaries, 4 activities for visual, and 2 activities for cartoons. Meaning that for visual literacy, it must be 4 activities, 2 of each. Then under writing and presenting, you need to have 1 activity on essay writing, and that will be on the process approach to writing. Then under language, the total there should be 14 language activities for this term in grade 8 home language, including 5 spelling tests and 10 weekly flyers, in which you integrate them, where you integrate them into your lessons. You don't teach them in isolation. You look at the ATP, what is it that has to be done this week, this cycle, and then you use those flyers and spelling and dictation list as an instrument by which you will assist your learners. And then formal assessments, we are continuing with reading aloud, and then we'll have our task for transactional writing. Is either 2 shorter texts or 1 longer text. Remember, they must be written out of 20 and then reduced to 10. For grade 8 is out of 10. Then for task 5, we'll talk about task 5 later on. I'm not going to touch on it. Then grade 9 home language, under listening and speaking, is 1 activity. And that activity will be oral presentation for assessment. Then under reading and viewing, you have 3 activities from comprehension, 2 from summary, cartoons, and advertisement, respectively. Then we have literature components, 2 activities from short stories, 1 activity from a poem, and please spend a total of 4 hours on literature components. Then under writing and presenting, for essay writing, it must be 1 activity on process writing, as well as transactional writing, where you focus on formal letter of complaint, formal letter of application, newspaper report, and magazine article. Is 3 activities for longer transactional and 3 activities for shorter transactional text. And then the formal activity is still your transactional writing, like in the grade 8, 2 shorter transactionals or 1 longer, but this time it must be out of 20. Then you must have at least 10 or 15, informal activities in language, including 5 spelling tests and 10 weekly flyers that should have been integrated into your lessons. And then grade 8 FAL, under listening and speaking, there are no activities. It will only be integration. We will only be integrating them with reading and viewing. Remember, we have the skills of listening for comprehension under reading and viewing and writing. Then formal activity is still your reading aloud for 20 marks. We're completing it in this term. And then under reading and viewing is 2 activities from comprehension, 2 from cartoons, advertisement, and summary skills, respectively. Then we have literature components, 2 activities, 1 for key features of a genre and 1 story for 2 hours. Then folktale is 1 activity and a youth novel 1 activity. So it's 2 activities for short stories and 1 activity for youth novel. A novel at least cover 5 to 7 chapters. Then, as I said, 1 activity for poetry. Then under reading and writing and presenting, we have 1 activity from essay writing, 1 activity from longer transactional text, dialogue and review specifically, and 1 activity from either an advert or a poster. Then remember, you also focusing on the SVA task, which will be transactional text, and for 10 marks, like in Arab grades and language levels, is 2 shorter or 1 longer. Then language, now we have 50% less of what we have in home language, grade 8 home language, is 7 activities plus homework activities, remember, including the 5 spelling tests and 10 wiki flyers. We'll talk about the control test later on. Lastly, under ATP informal activities, we have grade 9 FAL. Listening, under listening and speaking, we have activities which are integrated with reading and viewing and writing and presenting skills. Therefore, we don't have an activity specifically for listening and speaking, but this will be activities linked with your reading and viewing and writing and presenting. Then we still have our SBA task, which is on a continuum. Then under reading and viewing, it's response to text, 4 activities from comprehension, 2 from cartoons, advertisement, and summary skills respectively. Then we have a literature component, short stories, 4 activities, where we have key features of genre plus 2 stories for 4 hours. Then we have 2 activities for poetry from 2 poems for 2 hours. Then under writing and presenting skills, we have 1 activity from either descriptive, narrative, argumentative, or reflective essays based on the process approach to writing. And then we have we have 3 activities from longer transactional text, either a formal letter or from a formal letter, newspaper report, and a magazine article, all 3 of them. Then we have that activity, the formal SBA activity, a longer transactional text from 2 shorter or 1 longer text out of 20. In language, grade 9 FAL, we have 8 activities instead of 15, as we saw with the grade 9 home language. And this includes your homeworks, 5 spelling tests, and 10 wiki flyers, which will be integrated into your lessons. I don't know whether we have any questions. I hope that I'm still on the right pace. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, curriculum coverage, you still have to report on curriculum coverage. The next cycle is on the 17th of April, this coming Friday. You will receive your links this coming Friday. And then the report is from the 8th to the 17th of April. Meaning that this first 2 weeks. Apologies, there are some constructions going on around the house here. And then schools submit this on the 21st of April. Then the second cycle, we are going to issue them on the 15th of April of May. They will be covering the period from the 20th of April to the 15th of May, and you submit it on the 19th of May. Apologies for the date. The date should be the 19th of May. Then the life cycle for this term will be from the 18th to the 28th of May before they start with their exams. Remember, the FET start early. Please, GET or senior phase teachers, continue with curriculum coverage. Don't wait for, don't give reasons that the FET were busy with invigilating their classes or the centers. Please ensure that we cover as much as possible. And this is the coverages. How are you going to submit? What is it that you have to submit from the 7th on the 17th? Grade 8. You submit on the 17th under term 1 for weeks 1 and 2. Comprehension, summary, advertisement, cartoon, and 2 language activities and 1 literature activity. You have this, ladies and gentlemen. The literature indicated is the minimum expected based on the provincial readers. Remember, if you are not using provincial readers, you still have to see what is it that you can be able to cover. And remember, this last week and this week, you're also busy discussing corrections of what was written in term 1, class 3. So that must also be part of your curriculum coverage. Ladies and gentlemen, the total number of activities for this term in grade 8 FAL is 31. So you are going to, you must, at least when the term ends, the minimum that you must have covered must be 31 activities, informal activities. Then grade 9 FAL, you still have to report on comprehension, summary, advertisement, comic strip or cartoon, language 2 activities, and then writing, including a short story and an oral preparation. Therefore, on the 17th, we are expecting you to report on those. And the total number of activities for grade 9 FAL is also 31 for the whole term. And then this is what you have to report on subsequent terms. You will have to, I'm not going to cover everything. Then grade 8 home language. This is what you have to cover. 1 activity from comprehension, summary, advertisement, cartoon, short story, and oral preparation, and 3 activities from language. Total number of activities for grade 8 home language is 39 for the whole term. 39. That is the minimum. Then grade 9 home language, you have to report on 1 activity from the following: comprehension, summary, advertisement, a cartoon or comic strip, writing piece, poetry, and poetry, apologies, and poetry, and 4 activities on language skills. And the total number for activities for grade 9 home language is 38. So you see, grade 8 and 9 FAL 31. Both of them have minimum of 31 activities. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're referring to, you cannot teach different kinds of nouns or types of nouns and count them as different activities. A noun is 1 activity. Whether you're doing a compound or you're doing a proper nouns is 1 activity. Therefore, teach each skill, give each skill its time so that learners can be able to comprehend it and master it as well. Right. These are the term 2 assessment tests. You are busy with oral. You'll be getting task 4, writing transactional text in both grade 8 and 9. So be prepared for them. And then we'll also have task 5, grade 8. It's either set by the district, PLCs, or the schools. While in grade 9, you'll get provincial papers for both FAL and home language. Task 5 in grade 8, remember question 1 is out of 60, 20 marks for literary or non-literary text comprehension, 10 marks for visual text. You can break it down into five cartoon and advertisement, or set 1 question on cartoon and 1 question on advertisement out of 10 marks. Then question 3 is summary text or summary writing. Then question 4 is language structures and conventions. And remember, include the spelling and dictation text and weekly flyers as part of the questions. If you are setting your own paper, we'll also want to see those examples or example questions from weekly flyers appearing on the question paper. Even though they may not be verbatim, but at least there must be evidence that you touched on weekly flyers and spelling and dictations. Grade 9, task 5 will be a provincial paper. Question 1 out of 25 marks is on comprehension. And question 2 is visual literacy. You can break it down into 7, 8. Or as set 1 question on either visual, cartoon or advertisement for 15 marks. Then your summary is still 10 marks as question 3. And then question 4 is still your language structure and conventions or grammar out of 20 marks. Right, the following steps must be considered, or the following must be considered when setting formal assessments. You must teach and explain the aspect. Please don't take it for granted that they learned it in grade 7, grade 8. Teachers in grade 8 don't rely on teachers in grade 7 to have taught your learners the skills. Teach them. The same with teachers in grade 9. Please practice. Practice makes perfect, but good practice is the best mechanism you can employ. So practice on how to assess for learning. Practice them by assessing them for learning, or teach and assess skills or strategy in which you teach and then immediately you assess them on what you've taught. Then you get immediate response on whether they understood or they didn't understand. Then you assist them with the challenges, where the challenges occurred. Then you can then administer the formal assessment on what you have taught and practiced in class. You cannot teach learners on what is not on the ATP. Or you cannot assess them on what is not on the ATP. As much as you cannot teach them what will appear in term 3 and start teaching it now. And claim that, no, they must have learned it in term 3 in grade 8 or grade 7. Don't leave anything to chances. Right, I want us to go back to task 5. Ladies and gentlemen, those who are going to set their own task in grade 8, especially grade 8, let us avoid using previous year's question papers in full. If you want to use previous year's question papers, please use 3 or 4. Take questions from 3 or 4 different papers, because these papers are all over the internet. We also have an AI on which learners can just type whatever they want to type and get the response. And these papers, ladies and gentlemen, remember this is for formal assessment. Yes, you can use previous year's question papers for informal assessment as a form of a resource material, but not for formal assessment. And make sure that you have your cognitive levels. You also have a cognitive analysis grid after you've said the question, the assessment. But before that, please draw up an assessment framework, especially if the test is going to be written at district or PLC level, cluster level. The marking guidelines must be marking guidelines. Examiners and moderators, you must pay attention to the requirements for a functional marking guideline. Because you may set a test and then be unable to mark it due to illness or personal problem that may crop up during marking. Then it must be given to someone who did not set the test, who was not there when the marking guideline was discussed. It's going to be very difficult for this person to mark with the pace expected of him because of the marking guideline, which is not standardized. I don't know whether there are any questions so far. Vuli, Salman, I don't know who else is joined. I think it's Suen. I had Suen or Meg Waters' voice. Are there any questions?
I think everything is clear and clear, Anya. I think everyone should be fine.
I hope you're also fine from the grueling two oceans.
I am, thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, good work has a snowball effect. It keeps leading to more good work. Keep on doing the good work. We trust you that you'll be able to set quality tasks and you'll be able to go through all the ATP. Remember, we don't have much time in this term. Work smart and work very hard. Thank you very much. I wish you a pleasant Wednesday afternoon. Keep warm and dry.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, Ntate Mpanya.
Yes, Nadi.
Mr. Dear, we have a hand. I'm sorry to just interject, but it seems like we have Lucia Sibongile and then Gift Mukhatle from Marquardt. We are going to go in that order. May Lucia?
Okay. Please
Yes,
write down their
thank
questions.
you very much. I have a question from grade 8, ATP. During the first week, it says they must write a summary from a chapter in a novel. And
yes,
unfortunately, it's like they don't have a novel because I'm a new teacher. So they don't have a novel. It's only short stories, I think.
They write the chapter. Yes. What
yeah, they're saying they should write a summary on one chapter from a novel. And it's like they don't have a novel in grade 8.
Look at the diction. It says like a novel.
Okay,
not
okay.
Prescriptive, ne? It can be a short story or a drama.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
Ntate Mpanya.
Ndade.
We had been expecting the delivery of grade 8 readers since last year.
From which school are you?
Do not have
school and
Marquardt Combined School in Marquardt.
All right. Timet, you now have new subject advisors, Me Palisa Kaule and Me Njabulo Mavunda. Please contact them. I will also, I'm sure they are also in the meeting. Please contact them to find out what is happening.
Oh, okay.
It's
And then
Metaule
with
and Memavundla.
all right. And then
Yes, sir.
with regards to grade 7, is there because I've realized that I'm not in any group with regards to grade 7, and I'm really struggling to make ends meet there by grade 7.
No, you'll have to find out who is the subject advisor for primary schools. We don't cover grade 7. We only do support secondary schools.
All right, that I'm fine.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
The last question, ma'am, Salman, I reckon you had 3 questions.
No, Mpanya, we only had 2 from Makwat
Okay.
and Melucia. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am. Colleagues, I'm going to share this presentation with your respective subject advisors, and then they will share it in your groups. Thank you very much, colleagues, for the support. And to those who joined and all the questions, I wish you all the best. Goodbye.
Thank you. Did I say something?